The sun blazed overhead as Karen Martinez stormed across the pool deck, her manicured finger pointing like a weapon at the teenage girl in the corner. "You little brat! Do you know who I am?" she shrieked, her voice cutting through the summer air like broken glass. The girl, barely 16, dark hair plastered to her head, looked up with eyes that held secrets Karen couldn't imagine. 20 feet away, hidden behind a pool chair, another girl's phone camera captured every venomous word, every ugly sneer. Karen had no idea she was about to become famous for all the wrong reasons. And she had no idea that the quiet girl she was the Willowbrook Country Club pool deck shimmered under the oppressive July heat, its pristine white tiles reflecting the kind of wealth that demanded respect through intimidation. Karen Martinez adjusted her oversized Chanel sunglasses and surveyed her domain with the satisfaction of a queen reviewing her kingdom. At 42, she had perfected the art of wielding privilege like a scalpel, precise, cutting, and always effective. "Miranda, sweetie, make sure you reapply that sunscreen," Karen called to her 17-year-old daughter, who lay sprawled on a designer lounge chair, her blonde hair fanned out like a halo. "We can't have you looking like some common beach girl." Miranda barely looked up from her phone, her fingers flying across the screen in the universal language of teenage indifference. "Mom, I'm fine." Karen's jaw tightened. Even her own daughter had begun to test the boundaries of her authority lately. But that was a battle for another day. Today, she had more pressing matters to attend to, like maintaining the delicate social ecosystem that kept undesirable elements out of their exclusive sanctuary. The pool area was exactly as it should be, filled with the right people, wearing the right clothes, discussing the right topics. The Henderson family occupied their usual spot near the diving board, their twin boys splashing with the controlled enthusiasm of children who understood that even play had rules here. Margaret Whitmore held court at the poolside bar, regaling her circle with tales of her latest charity auction triumph. Everything was perfect. Until it wasn't. Karen's eagle eyes spotted the disruption immediately, a girl who didn't belong, sitting alone in the far corner of the pool area. She was maybe 16, with olive skin and dark hair that hung in damp tendrils around her face. But it wasn't just her appearance that set off Karen's internal alarms, it was her clothes. The girl wore a simple one-piece swimsuit that looked like it had come from a discount store, and her towel was nothing more than a faded beach towel with cartoon dolphins, the kind of thing you'd find at a garage sale. More troubling still, the girl was alone. No parent in sight, no friend to vouch for her presence. She sat with her knees drawn up to her chest, watching the other swimmers with an expression that Karen couldn't quite read. Was it longing? Resentment? Either way, it made Karen's skin crawl. "Excuse me," Karen said, her voice dripping with false sweetness as she approached the girl. "I don't think we've met. I'm Karen Martinez and I'm on the club's membership committee." The girl looked up, her dark eyes meeting Karen's with a steadiness that was both impressive and irritating. "Hi," she said simply. Karen waited for more, a name, an explanation, an apology for existing in her space. When none came, she felt the familiar heat of righteous indignation rising in her chest. "And you are?" "Sophia," the girl replied, still not offering a last name or any context for her presence. "Sophia." Karen repeated the name like it tasted bitter. "And who are you here with today, Sophia?" The girl's eyes flickered with something that might have been defiance. "I'm here with my family." Karen's gaze swept the pool area, cataloging every face, every family group. She knew them all, had personally approved most of their memberships. There was no family here that would claim this girl as their own. "Really? And where exactly is your family?" Sophia's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "They're around." The non-answer was like gasoline on Karen's already smoldering irritation. She had built her reputation on maintaining standards, on keeping the club exclusive and pristine. This girl, with her discount swimsuit and evasive answers, represented everything Karen fought against. "You know," Karen said, her voice taking on the sharp edge that had intimidated countless service workers and subordinates, "the Willowbrook Country Club has very strict policies about guests. Members are required to accompany their visitors at all times. If you're here alone, that's a serious violation." Sophia's knuckles whitened as she gripped her towel tighter. "I'm not alone." Then where? Karen's voice rose slightly, causing a few nearby conversations to pause. Is your host? The girl's silence was answer enough. Karen felt the familiar rush of being right, of catching someone in a lie. This was what she lived for, the moment when her vigilance paid off, when she could swoop in and restore order to her perfectly controlled world. Listen here, young lady, Karen said, her voice carrying across the pool deck like a crack of thunder. I don't know how you got in here, but this is a private club. These facilities are for members and they're properly supervised guests only. You can't just waltz in here and use our pool like it's some public swimming hole. Sophia stood up slowly, her movements deliberate and controlled. At her full height, she was perhaps 5 feet 4 inches, but something in her posture suggested she wasn't easily intimidated. I have every right to be here. The audacity of the statement hit Karen like a physical blow. This girl, this nobody from nowhere, had the nerve to challenge her authority. In front of everyone. Right? Karen's voice cracked like a whip. You have a right. Do you have any idea what it costs to maintain these facilities? Do you know what my family has invested in this club? I've been a member here for 15 years and I will not stand by while some little trespasser treats our amenities like her personal playground. The pool area had gone quiet now, conversations dying as heads turned to watch the confrontation. Karen was dimly aware of the audience, but she was too far gone to care. This girl had triggered something primal in her, something that demanded immediate and total victory. Sophia's voice remained steady, but Karen could see the hurt flickering in her eyes. You don't know anything about me. I know enough, Karen snapped. I know you don't belong here. I know you're trying to take advantage of facilities you haven't paid for. And I know that if I don't put a stop to this, every kid in town will think they can just walk in here whenever they please. 20 feet away, hidden behind a row of pool chairs, another girl watched the confrontation unfold. 16-year-old Maya Rodriguez had been reaching for her dropped sunglasses when she heard the commotion. Now she crouched frozen, her phone in her hand, her finger hovering over the record button. Maya knew Karen Martinez by reputation, everyone in town did. She was the woman who complained to restaurant managers about the temperature of her wine, who demanded to speak to supervisors when store clerks couldn't find her preferred brand of organic face cream. She was also the woman who had gotten Maya's cousin fired from the country club's kitchen staff last summer for inappropriate behavior that amounted to nothing more than making eye contact with the wrong member's husband. But what Maya saw now was different. This wasn't just Karen being difficult or demanding. This was Karen being cruel, and the target was someone who looked exactly like Maya herself, young, Latina, and clearly out of place in this temple of privilege. Maya's thumb pressed the record button. You know what? Karen continued, her voice rising to a shriek that echoed off the pool's surface. I'm calling security. No, better yet, I'm calling the police. You're trespassing, and I want you arrested. Sophia's composure finally cracked. You can't do that. I'm not, I can and I will. Karen's face was flushed red now, her carefully applied makeup beginning to streak in the heat. Do you think you can just come into our space and act like you own the place? Do you think your kind belongs here? The words hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Even Karen seemed momentarily stunned by what she had said, but it was too late to take it back. The damage was done. My kind. Sophia's voice was barely a whisper, but it carried the weight of 1,000 similar encounters. Karen's brain scrambled for damage control, but her mouth kept moving without her permission. I mean people who don't respect private property. People who think they are entitled to things they haven't earned. People who look like me, Sophia finished, her voice growing stronger with each word. Just say it. People who look like me don't belong in your perfect white country club. The accusation hit Karen like a slap. She wasn't racist, she had Hispanic friends, she donated to diversity initiatives, she had even voted for minority candidates. But as she looked at Sophia's face, at the pain and defiance written there, she felt something ugly stirring in her chest. That's not what I meant, Karen said, but her voice lacked conviction. This is about rules, about maintaining standards, Sophia repeated, standing up straighter. You mean keeping people like me out? Maya's phone captured every word, every expression, every moment of the confrontation that was about to change everything. She watched through her screen as Karen's face twisted with rage, as Sophia stood her ground despite the tears threatening to spill over. Maya Rodriguez's hands trembled as she clutched her phone, the weight of what she had just captured settling in her chest like a stone. The video was 4 minutes and 37 seconds of pure, unfiltered hatred, Karen Martinez at her absolute worst, caught in stunning high definition for the world to see. She glanced toward the pool where Sophia sat reading, her composed exterior hiding what had to be a storm of emotions. Maya had recognized her immediately, even before hearing her last name. Sophia Rodriguez was a year younger than Maya, attended the same high school, and had the quiet confidence that came from being effortlessly brilliant in AP classes while maintaining perfect grades. They had never spoken, moved in different circles. Different lunch tables, different worlds despite sharing the same building 5 days a week. But Maya had always admired Sophia from afar, had seen how she handled the subtle and not so subtle microaggressions that came with being one of the few Latina students in advanced placement courses. Now, watching Sophia pretend to read while her shoulders remained rigid with suppressed emotion, Maya felt something ignite in her chest. This wasn't just about documenting Karen's meltdown, this was about justice. Sophia. Maya approached carefully, her voice soft but carrying across the space between them. Sophia looked up, her dark eyes widening slightly as she recognized Maya. Oh. Hi, Maya. I saw what happened, Maya said, settling into the chair beside her. All of it. Anna recorded it. Sophia's book slipped from her fingers, landing with a soft thud on the pristine pool deck. You recorded it. Maya nodded, her thumb hovering over the screen. Every single word. Every ugly, racist thing she said to you. For a moment, Sophia said nothing. Then, quietly, my dad doesn't know what happened. He was in the pro shop the whole time. Do you want to tell him? Sophia's laugh was bitter. He moved us here because he thought it would be different. Better opportunities, better schools, better everything. He was so proud when he got accepted to the country club, kept talking about how we finally belonged somewhere. Maya felt her heart breaking for this girl she barely knew. Sophia. I've been dealing with people like her my whole life, Sophia continued, her voice growing stronger. At school, at the mall, everywhere we go. But this place was supposed to be different. My dad paid the membership fee, paid for guest passes, did everything right. And still she treated you like garbage, Maya finished. Sophia nodded. Tears threatening to spill over. The worst part is, I wasn't even surprised. I expected it. I came here today knowing someone would make me feel like I didn't belong, and I came anyway because I thought maybe I was wrong. Maya's grip tightened on her phone. The video felt like a weapon in her hands, something that could cut through the polite facade of casual racism and expose the ugly truth beneath. What do you want to do about it? Sophia wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. What can I do? File a complaint. My dad will just say it's not worth the trouble. He'll probably want to drop the membership to avoid any more incidents. Or, Maya said slowly, we could make sure everyone knows exactly what kind of person Karen Martinez really is. Sophia's eyes sharpened. What do you mean? Maya turned her phone screen toward Sophia, showing the video thumbnail, Karen's face twisted with rage, her finger pointing accusingly. I mean, we post this. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, everywhere. Let the world see what happened here today. Sophia stared at the screen, her reflection caught in the black mirror of the phone. That would ruin her. She tried to ruin you, Maya pointed out. She threatened to have you arrested, called you a trespasser, said you didn't belong here because of how you look. And she did it all in front of everyone, without caring about the consequences. But if we post this, people will see who she really is. And maybe the next time someone like her wants to humiliate a kid just for existing in their space, they'll think twice. Sophia was quiet for a long moment, watching the other families enjoying their perfect summer day. Children splashed in the pool while their parents sipped drinks and discussed vacation plans. It was a scene of effortless privilege, and Sophia had been reminded in the cruelest way possible that she was an outsider looking in. My dad worked 3 jobs to put himself through medical school, Sophia said finally. He came here with nothing. Built a practice from scratch, saved every penny to give me opportunities he never had. And that woman looked at me and saw nothing but a problem to be solved. Maya nodded, understanding the weight of generational dreams and the pain of having them dismissed so casually. She doesn't even know my name, Sophia continued. I told her, but she didn't care. I'm just that girl to her. The one who doesn't belong. So let's make sure everyone knows your name, Maya said fiercely. Let's make sure they know exactly who you are and what she did to you. Sophia reached for Maya's phone, her fingers hovering over the screen. If we do this, there's no taking it back. Some things shouldn't be taken back, Maya replied. Sophia pressed play and they watched the video together. Karen's voice filled the space between them, sharp and cutting. Do you think your kind belongs here? The words hit just as hard the second time, maybe harder, because now Sophia could see herself through the camera's eyes, small, alone, trying to maintain her dignity while being torn apart by a grown woman who should have known better. Look at her face, Maya said softly, pointing to the screen. Look at how much she's enjoying this. She's not just enforcing rules, she's getting off on making you feel small. Sophia watched herself stand up straighter, watched herself refuse to be cowed even as Karen's voice rose to a shriek. I look stronger than I felt. You look like someone who belongs exactly where she is, Maya said. And she looks like someone who's about to learn a very hard lesson. Sophia made her decision. Do it. Maya's fingers flew across the screen, editing the video to include captions that provided context. Karen Martinez, member of Willowbrook Country Club, harasses 16-year-old Sofia Rodriguez, daughter of Dr. Miguel Rodriguez, for not belonging at the pool. She tagged the country club, added hashtags about racism and privilege, and wrote a caption that burned with righteous anger. This is what casual racism looks like. This is what happens when people think their money and status give them the right to humiliate children. Sofia Rodriguez belongs here just as much as anyone else, but Karen Martinez decided she didn't look the part. Watch how quickly concerns about security turn into something much uglier. Are you ready? Maya asked, her finger hovering over the share button. Sofia nodded. Post it everywhere. The video went live across multiple platforms simultaneously. Within minutes, it had its first shares, its first comments, its first wave of outrage. Maya watched the numbers climb, 50 views, 100, 500, each one representing someone who was witnessing Karen's meltdown and forming their own judgment. It's working, Maya said, refreshing the metrics. People are sharing it. Sofia watched. The comments pour in, a mix of support for her and condemnation for Karen. Some of these people know her, she observed, reading the names. They are talking about other things she's done. Maya scrolled through the responses, her eyes widening. Look at this one, Karen Martinez got my daughter's friend kicked out of a birthday party because she said the girl looked as suspicious. The girl was 8 years old. Another comment, she screamed at a cashier at Whole Foods last week because they were out of her favorite yogurt. Made the poor kid cry. And another, this is the same woman who tried to get our landscaping crew fired because they were too loud at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. The pattern was becoming clear. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was a glimpse into Karen Martinez's character. A character that apparently included a long history of entitled behavior and casual cruelty. She's done this before, Sofia said quietly. To other people, other families. Maya nodded grimly. And now everyone knows about it. The video's reach was expanding exponentially. Local news accounts were picking it up, community groups were sharing it, and somewhere in the growing digital storm, people were beginning to ask questions about the Willowbrook Country Club's policies and culture. My dad's going to see this. Sofia realized suddenly. He's going to be so angry. At you? At himself, for bringing me here. For thinking we could fit in. Maya turned to face her fully. Sofia, none of this is your fault. You didn't do anything wrong. You existed in a space you had every right to occupy, and she attacked you for it. That's on her, not you. Before Sophia could respond, a commotion near the pool entrance caught their attention. Dr. Miguel Rodriguez was striding across the deck, his face a mask of controlled fury. Behind him, James Patterson was struggling to keep up, his expression professionally neutral but his eyes showing concern. "Mija," Dr. Rodriguez called out as he reached them, his voice tight with barely contained emotion. "We need to talk." Sophia stood up, her book forgotten on the chair. "Dad, I can explain, someone showed me a video," he said, his accented English clipped with anger. "Someone showed me what happened to you while I was buying golf clubs." Maya felt her stomach drop. The video had reached him faster than she had expected, probably through one of the club's members who had recognized Sophia or seen the incident firsthand. "Dr. Rodriguez," Maya said, standing up as well. "I'm May." Karen Martinez's BMW trembled as she gripped the steering wheel, her knuckles wide against the black leather. She had made it exactly 4 blocks from the country club before her phone started buzzing with the relentless persistence of a smoke alarm. Text after text, call after call, each notification another nail in the coffin of her carefully constructed reputation. The first message had been from her sister Linda. "Karen, what the hell is this video everyone's sharing? Please tell me this isn't you." The second from her neighbor, "Saw something online. Is everything okay?" The third from her husband's business partner, "Rick, your wife is trending on Twitter. Might want to check this out." By the time she pulled into her driveway, Karen's phone had 47 missed calls and 134 unread messages. Her hands shook as she scrolled through the notifications, each one a fresh wound: Facebook tags, Instagram mentions, Twitter replies, LinkedIn connections. Every platform she had ever used was lighting up with her name. "No, no, no," she whispered, her voice cracking as she watched the view count climb. 50,000 views. 75,000, 100,000. Each number represented someone who had seen her at her worst, someone who now knew her as the woman who screamed at a teenage girl by a pool. The video had been edited with devastating precision. Captions provided context she had never given, highlighting every ugly word, every moment of escalation. The comments section was a wasteland of judgment and fury, thousands of strangers dissecting her character with surgical precision. "Karen Martinez is what's wrong with America. This is pure racism wrapped in a country club membership. Someone should forward this to her employer." That last comment made her blood run cold. Her employer? The Willowbrook Regional Hospital Foundation, where she served as Director of Community Outreach. The same hospital where Dr. Miguel Rodriguez, Sophia's father, was the new head of cardiology. Her phone rang, the caller ID showing her boss's name. Karen stared at the screen, her finger hovering over the answer button, knowing that whatever came next would change everything. "Hello, Patricia," she managed, her voice barely steady. "Karen." Patricia Walsh's voice was ice-cold professional. "I need you to come in immediately. We have a situation." "I can explain, no explanations over the phone. Conference room B in 30 minutes. And Karen, bring your resignation letter. Just in case." The line went dead. Karen sat in her car, staring at her phone, feeling the walls of her perfect life closing in around her. Through the windshield, she could see her neighbors' houses, their manicured lawns and pristine driveways. How many of them had seen the video? How many were already gossiping about the woman who had fallen from grace in 4 minutes and 37 seconds? Meanwhile, back at the country club, the damage was spreading like wildfire through the membership. In the clubhouse bar, Margaret Whitmore held court at her usual table, her voice carrying across the room with the authority of someone who had never been challenged. "I'm telling you, this is exactly what I was afraid of when they started letting in new members," she declared, her martini glass gesturing for emphasis. "You bring in the wrong element, and suddenly everyone thinks they can film us going about our business." "But Margaret," protested Janet Henderson, her voice uncertain. "Didn't you see what Karen said to that girl? It was pretty harsh." Margaret's laugh was sharp and dismissive. "Oh please. Karen was just trying to maintain standards. That girl was clearly out of place, anyone could see that." The real scandal is that someone thought it was appropriate to secretly record a private conversation. A private conversation. David Chen, a newer member, looked incredulous. She was screaming at a teenager by the pool. In front of everyone. She was addressing a security concern, Margaret insisted. Which is exactly what any responsible member should do. The fact that it turned out to be what's his name Rodriguez's daughter doesn't change the fact that she looked suspicious. Suspicious how? David pressed. Because she was Hispanic. The word hung in the air like a toxic cloud. Margaret's face flushed red, but her voice remained steady. Because she was unaccompanied. Because she wasn't dressed appropriately. Because she was evasive when questioned. Race has nothing to do with it. Doesn't it? Dr. Sarah Kim, another newer member, joined the conversation. I watched the video. Karen specifically asked about your kind belonging here. How do you explain that? Margaret's composure cracked slightly. She was clearly referring to people who don't follow the rules. People who try to take advantage of our hospitality. It's not about race, it's about class. Same difference. David muttered. It is not the same difference, Margaret snapped. This club has standards, and those standards exist for a reason. If we start letting just anyone waltz in here without proper supervision, without proper dress codes, without proper skin color. Dr. Kim interrupted. The table fell silent. Around them, other conversations had quieted as well, the usual buzz of the clubhouse replaced by an uncomfortable tension that seemed to press against the walls. I think, said Robert Sterling, the club's longest-serving member, we need to be very careful about how we handle this situation. The video is already viral. The media is starting to pick it up. The last thing we need is for this to become a story about the country club defending racist behavior. It's not racist behavior, Margaret protested, but her voice lacked conviction. Then what would you call it? Dr. Kim asked. A grown woman threatening to call the police on a 16-year-old girl whose only crime was existing in the same space as her. Margaret stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. I don't have to sit here and listen to this. Karen Martinez is a good woman who made a mistake. She doesn't deserve to be crucified by a mob of internet strangers. But that teenage girl deserved to be humiliated in front of everyone. Dr. Kim shot back. Margaret's face went pale. That's not what I meant. Then what did you mean? David asked. Because it sounds like you're saying Karen's reputation is more important than Sophia's dignity. Margaret looked around the table, searching for support, but found only uncomfortable silence. Even her closest allies seemed unwilling to defend Karen's actions in the harsh light of public scrutiny. This conversation is over, Margaret declared, gathering her purse. When this all blows over, I hope you'll remember who was willing to stand by their friends. She stalked out of the clubhouse, her heels clicking against the marble floor with staccato precision. Behind her, the remaining members sat in uncomfortable silence, each grappling with their own complicity in the culture that had created Karen Martinez. 2 hours later, Karen sat in conference room B at the hospital foundation, facing a tribunal of executives whose expressions ranged from disappointed to furious. The video played on the wall-mounted screen, Karen's voice filling the sterile space with its ugly accusations. Do you have anything to say for yourself? Patricia Walsh asked when the video ended. Karen had prepared a speech in the car, full of explanations and justifications. But sitting here now, watching herself on screen, she felt the words crumble in her throat. I was trying to protect the club's standards, she managed weakly. By threatening a teenage girl, asked Dr. Marcus Thompson, the foundation's medical director. By questioning whether people like her belong in our community. I didn't mean it like that, Karen protested. I was talking about rules, about proper procedures. You were talking about your kind, Patricia interrupted. In front of cameras, representing an organization that partners with Dr. Rodriguez's department. Do you have any idea what kind of damage this has done to our reputation? Karen's shoulders sagged. I never meant for it to go this far. Intent doesn't matter, Dr. Thompson said bluntly. Impact does. And the impact is that one of our most prestigious doctors now has to wonder whether his daughter is safe in this community. Whether his family is welcome here. Dr. Rodriguez is a good man, Karen said quietly. I have nothing against him personally. But you have something against his daughter. Patricia's voice was sharp as a blade. Because she's 16 and Hispanic and didn't immediately defer to your authority. The accusation hung in the air like a verdict. Karen opened her mouth to deny it, but the words wouldn't come. Because deep down, in the part of herself she had always refused to examine, she knew there was truth in the charge. I think, Patricia continued, we need to discuss your future with this organization. Karen's resignation letter sat on the table between them, 3 paragraphs of corporate speak that reduced 15 years of work to a polite farewell. She had written it in the parking lot, her hands shaking as she tried to find words that would preserve some dignity in defeat. I'm not a racist, she said finally, her voice barely above a whisper. I have friends who are Hispanic. I've donated to diversity programs. I voted for Karen, Patricia interrupted gently, racism isn't just burning crosses and white hoods. It's also assuming that a teenage girl doesn't belong somewhere because of how she looks. It's questioning her right to exist in your space. It's everything you did in that video. The room fell silent except for the hum of the air conditioning. Karen stared at her hands, seeing them clearly for the first time in years, soft, manicured. Privileged hands that had never known real struggle but had somehow felt entitled to judge those who Sofia Rodriguez stared at her laptop screen in her bedroom, watching the numbers climb with a mixture of fascination and horror. 750,000 views. 12,000 comments. 45,000 shares. The video had taken on a life of its own, spreading far beyond the confines of their small town and into the vast wilderness of the internet. Mija, dinner, her father called from downstairs, his voice carrying the careful neutrality he had maintained since their confrontation at the club that afternoon. Coming, Papa, Sofia replied, but she didn't move. She couldn't stop reading the comments, each one a stranger's verdict on the worst moment of her life. This brave girl handled herself with such dignity. Future president right here. Sofia Rodriguez 2040. Karen Martinez is trash but this young lady is pure class. The praise felt strange, like wearing clothes that didn't quite fit. Yes, she had maintained her composure during Karen's attack, but she hadn't felt brave or dignified. She had felt small and hurt and angry, emotions that didn't match the heroic narrative the internet was weaving around her. Her phone buzzed with another friend request. Another interview request from a local news station. Another message from a stranger offering support, advice, or just wanting to bask in the reflected glow of viral fame. Maya had been texting her all day, sending screenshots of celebrities who had shared the video, news articles that mentioned Sofia by name, tweets from politicians condemning Karen's behavior. Each message was meant to be encouraging, but they felt like weights added to an already heavy burden. Sofia's bedroom door opened without a knock, a privilege her father had claimed since the video went viral, as if her privacy was now somehow communal property. You need to eat something, Dr. Rodriguez said, his eyes taking in the laptop, the scattered homework, the phone that hadn't stopped buzzing since they left the club. And you need to stop reading those comments. They are mostly positive, Sofia said, not looking up from the screen. That's not the point. Her father sat on the edge of her bed, his presence filling the small space with paternal concern. Mija, look at me. Sofia reluctantly closed the laptop and turned to face him. Dr. Miguel Rodriguez looked older than he had that morning, as if the weight of the day had settled into the lines around his eyes. This morning you were my brilliant daughter who was excited about starting senior year, he said softly. Tonight you're a symbol for people you've never met, fighting battles you never chose. How does that feel? Sofia considered lying, telling him she was fine, that she was proud of standing up to Karen Martinez. But her father's eyes held the kind of understanding that made deception impossible. Confusing, she admitted. Everyone keeps calling me brave, but I was terrified. They keep saying I handled it perfectly, but I wanted to cry. And now? Now I'm not just Sofia anymore. I'm the girl from the pool video. Everywhere I go, that's who I'll be. Dr. Rodriguez nodded slowly. Your mother called from Chicago. She saw the video on Facebook before I could warn her. She's flying home tomorrow. Sophia's stomach dropped. Her parents had been separated for 6 months, their marriage another casualty of the stress that came with building a new life in a new place. Her mother had taken a temporary position at Northwestern Memorial to give them both space to figure things out. She's angry. She's worried. About you, about our family, about what this means for all of us. He paused, choosing his words carefully. Mija, there are reporters calling the hospital. They want to interview me about racism in medicine, about our experience moving to Willowbrook, about whether I think the country club should lose its tax-exempt status. And what are you telling them? Nothing, for now. But I can't avoid them forever. This story has gotten too big. He pulled out his phone, showing her a news article with her photo, a screenshot from the video where she was standing up to Karen, her chin raised defiantly. Channel 7 wants to do a feature story. The teen who stood up to hate. They want to film at our house, interview your teachers, talk to your friends. Sophia felt the walls of her room shrinking around her. I don't want to be interviewed. Oh no. But I'm not sure we have a choice anymore. This story is being told with or without our participation. At least if we cooperate, we can control the narrative. What if I just want it to go away? Dr. Rodriguez's smile was sad. It's too late for that, Mija. The internet doesn't forget, and it doesn't forgive. That video will exist forever, and so will the story it tells. They sat in silence for a moment, listening to the buzz of Sophia's phone as it registered another notification. Downstairs, the doorbell rang, followed by the sound of voices, probably another reporter hoping for a statement. There's something else, Dr. Rodriguez said quietly. I got a call from the country club. James Patterson wants to meet with us tomorrow. Apparently, there's been some division among the membership about how to handle this situation. Division? Some members are calling for Karen Martinez to have her membership revoked. Others are saying the club is being unfairly attacked. And a few are suggesting that maybe we would be more comfortable elsewhere. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. Even now, even after everything that had happened, there were people who thought she was the problem. Are we going to leave? She asked. That depends on you, her father said. This is your community too now. Your choice to make. Sophia's laptop chimed with an email notification. Without thinking, she opened it and immediately wished she hadn't. The message was from someone calling themselves Patriot Mom 1776, and the subject line read, "You don't belong here." The email was filled with racist slurs and threats, telling Sophia to go back where you came from and warning that real Americans wouldn't stand for her victim act. It was the kind of message she had expected but hoped never to receive. A reminder that not everyone saw her as a brave teenager standing up to injustice. Dr. Rodriguez saw her expression change and gently took the laptop from her hands. His face darkened as he read the email, his jaw tightening with suppressed anger. How many of these have you gotten? He asked. A few, Sophia admitted. Maya says it's normal when something goes viral. That there are always trolls. This isn't trolling, Mija. This is hate mail. And it needs to be reported to the police. Sophia felt tears threatening to spill over. I just wanted her to be held accountable. I didn't want this. Dr. Rodriguez pulled her into a hug, his arms strong and warm around her shoulders. I know, Mija. I know. Am I a victim? She asked against his chest. Everyone keeps calling me that, but I don't feel like one. I feel like someone who fought back. You are someone who fought back, her father said firmly. But the world wants to put people in boxes, victim, hero, villain. The truth is usually more complicated than any of those labels. Sophia's phone buzzed again. This time it was Maya, calling for the third time in an hour. Sophia declined the call, not ready to deal with her friend's enthusiasm for their shared viral fame. I keep thinking about something Karen said, Sophia murmured. She said my kind doesn't belong there. But what if she's right? What if we are just pretending to fit into a world that was never meant for us? Dr. Rodriguez pulled back to look at her, his expression fierce. Listen to me, Sofia Elena Rodriguez. You belong anywhere you choose to be. Your presence doesn't require anyone's permission or approval. That woman's hatred says nothing about your worth and everything about her character. But the country club is a building full of people, some good, some bad, most somewhere in between. Just like everywhere else. He stood up, his decision made. We are going to that meeting tomorrow, and we are going to hold our heads high. Not because we have something to prove, but because we have nothing to be ashamed of. Sophia nodded, drawing strength from her father's certainty. But as he left her room and she reopened her laptop, she couldn't shake the feeling that the hardest part was still ahead of them. The video had over 1 million views now. Hashtag Sofia Rodriguez was trending on Twitter. Someone had created a GoFundMe to pay for her college tuition, though she hadn't asked for it and didn't need it. The internet had decided she was a symbol of resistance against racism, a role model for young people everywhere. But symbols weren't people. Symbols didn't have to wake up every morning and face the consequences of their unwanted fame. Symbols didn't have to read hate mail or dodge reporters or wonder if their parents' marriage could survive becoming a public spectacle. Sophia closed the laptop and picked up her phone to call Maya back. She needed to talk to the only other person who understood what it felt like to watch your private moment become the world's entertainment. Sophia. Maya's voice was breathless with excitement. Did you see? Ellen's people called. They want you on the show. Sophia felt her heart sink. The circus was getting bigger, and she was trapped in the center ring, performing a role she had never auditioned for. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new cameras, new strangers who thought they knew her story. But tonight, she was still just a 16-year-old girl who had been hurt by a grown woman's cruelty and was trying to figure out how to heal from wounds that the whole world was determined to keep open. The price of justice, Sophia was learning, was often higher than anyone expected to pay. And the bill was just beginning to come due. The Willowbrook Country Club's main conference room had never hosted a meeting quite like this one. Outside, news vans lined the circular drive like vultures, their satellite dishes reaching toward a grey morning sky that seemed to mirror the mood inside. James Patterson stood at the head of the mahogany table, his usual composure cracked by the weight of what had become a national story. Sofia Rodriguez sat between her parents, her mother having arrived on the red-eye from Chicago with lawyer's instincts fully activated. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was everything her daughter might become in 25 years, brilliant, composed, and absolutely unwilling to back down from a fight. She had spent the morning reviewing the club's bylaws and membership agreements, preparing for battle. Across the table sat the club's board of directors, a collection of men and women whose comfortable world had been shattered by 4 minutes and 37 seconds of video. Their faces ranged from sympathetic to hostile, with most falling somewhere in the uncomfortable middle ground of people who wished the whole situation would simply disappear. Before we begin, James said, his voice carefully neutral, I want to acknowledge that this situation has been difficult for everyone involved. We are here today to find a path forward that serves the best interests of all our members. Are we? Dr. Elena Rodriguez's voice cut through the diplomatic language like a scalpel. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're here to determine whether my family is welcome in a club my husband paid substantial fees to join. Robert Sterling, the club's longest-serving board member, leaned forward. Dr. Rodriguez, no one is questioning your membership status. We are trying to address a situation that has gotten considerably out of hand. Out of hand? Sophia's mother repeated, her eyebrows raising. A grown woman verbally assaulted my 16-year-old daughter, questioned her right to exist in a space she legally belonged in, and threatened to have her arrested for the crime of swimming while Hispanic. What part of that do you consider appropriate? Board member Margaret Whitmore, who had spent the previous day defending Karen to anyone who would listen, shifted uncomfortably in her chair. Mrs. Martinez was clearly having a difficult moment. She made mistakes, yes, but she doesn't deserve to have her entire life destroyed over one incident. Sophia spoke for the first time since entering the room, her voice quiet but steady. What about my life? The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the teenager who had somehow become the center of a national conversation about race, privilege, and accountability. "You keep talking about Mrs. Martinez's life being destroyed," Sophia continued, her confidence growing with each word. "But what about mine? What about the fact that I can't go to school without reporters following me? What about the death threats in my email? What about the fact that every time someone Googles my name, they'll find a video of the worst day of my life?" "Sophia," Dr. Miguel Rodriguez started, but his daughter held up a hand. "No, Papa. I want to say this." She looked directly at Margaret Whitmore. "You talk about Mrs. Martinez having a difficult moment, but you know what? I was having a difficult moment too. I was a kid trying to enjoy a summer day at a pool my family had every right to use. And instead of being protected by the adults around me, I was attacked by one and ignored by the rest." Margaret's face flushed red. "That's not fair. We didn't know what was happening until it was too late," Sophia finished. "You all saw her screaming at me. You all heard what she was saying. And none of you did anything to stop it." The accusation hung in the air like smoke. Around the table, board members found sudden interest in their coffee cups, their papers, anything that would let them avoid Sophia's steady gaze. James Patterson cleared his throat. "Sophia, I want you to know that the club takes this incident very seriously. We've already begun implementing new training programs for staff and members about appropriate behavior and training programs." Dr. Elena Rodriguez laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You think this is a training problem? You think Karen Martinez didn't know it was wrong to scream racist insults at a child? She knew exactly what she was doing. The question," said board member David Chen, speaking for the first time, "is what we do about it now." The video has been seen by over 2 million people. We have protesters outside our gates. Half our membership is threatening to quit if we don't take action against Mrs. Martinez, and the other half is threatening to quit if we do. Dr. Miguel Rodriguez leaned forward. "What kind of action are you considering?" James exchanged glances with the board members before answering. "We've reviewed Mrs. Martinez's membership agreement. There are clauses about conduct unbecoming a member, about behavior that reflects poorly on the club's reputation. Based on those clauses, we have grounds to revoke her membership." "And will you?" Dr. Elena Rodriguez asked. "That depends," Margaret Whitmore interjected, "on whether the Rodriguez family is willing to work with us to find a mutually beneficial solution." The words hung in the air like a threat wrapped in diplomatic language. Sophia felt her stomach drop as she realized what was being suggested. "A mutually beneficial solution," her mother repeated slowly. "Such as?" Robert Sterling took over. His voice carefully measured. "The media attention has been intense. Perhaps if both families involved stepped back from public statements, allowed the situation to cool down, we could find a way to resolve this that doesn't require such drastic measures." "You want us to stay quiet," Sophia said, understanding flooding over her. "You want us to make this go away so you don't have to actually do anything about Mrs. Martinez." "That's not what we are saying," James protested, but his tone suggested otherwise. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. "Let me make sure I understand this correctly. You want my family to participate in covering up a racist attack against my daughter so that the woman who perpetrated it can keep her country club membership. We want to find a solution that works for everyone," Margaret said desperately. "Everyone except Sophia," Dr. Miguel Rodriguez said quietly. "Everyone except the child who was actually harmed." Sophia looked around the table at these adults who held so much power in their community, who made decisions that affected countless lives, and she saw them clearly for the first time. They weren't evil people, necessarily, but they were people who had become so comfortable with their privilege that they couldn't imagine giving it up, even to do the right thing. "I have something to say," Sophia announced, standing up next to her mother. 2 days ago, I thought joining this club would make me feel like I belonged somewhere. I thought if my family paid the fees and followed the rules, would be accepted as equals." The room was dead silent, everyone hanging on her words. "But I realize now that was never going to happen. Because this isn't really about pool rules or guest policies or proper procedures. This is about power. About who gets to decide who belongs and who doesn't. And you've made it clear that no matter what my father accomplishes, no matter how much we pay, no matter how perfectly we behave, there will always be people like Mrs. Martinez who see us as intruders. Margaret started to protest, but Sophia continued. The video went viral because people recognized something in it. They saw the face of racism in America, not the obvious kind with hoods and burning crosses, but the everyday kind that happens in country clubs and school board meetings and corporate boardrooms. The kind that hides behind concern for standards and proper procedures. Sophia's voice grew stronger with each word, the months of code switching and careful behavior falling away to reveal the brilliant, fierce young woman underneath. You want to know what I learned from this experience? I learned that belonging isn't something you can buy or earn or prove you deserve. It's something you have to take. And I learned that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is refuse to disappear quietly when someone wants you to. She looked directly at James Patterson. So here's my mutually beneficial solution: you revoke Mrs. Martinez's membership. You issue a public statement condemning her behavior. You implement real consequences for members who engage in discriminatory conduct. And you do it because it's the right thing to do, not because you're being pressured by bad publicity. And if we don't? Robert Sterling asked. Sophia smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like her mother. Then my family will resign our membership, and we'll make sure everyone knows exactly why. We'll do interviews with every news station that wants to talk to us. We'll write op-eds about racism at elite institutions. We'll make this story about more than just one woman's bad behavior, we'll make it about the systems that enabled and protected that behavior. The threat was delivered with surgical precision, and everyone in the room understood its implications. The Rodriguez family could turn their local incident into a national conversation about exclusion and privilege at private clubs across America. You're asking us to destroy a woman's life, Margaret protested weakly. No, Dr. Elena Rodriguez corrected. She destroyed her own life when she chose to attack a child. You're being asked to decide whether you want to be known as the club that stands with victims of racism or the club that protects perpetrators. James Patterson looked around the table at his board members, seeing his own conflict ref.